Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel, Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be discussing my most anticipated releases for 2020. Well, the first half at least. These are some of my most favorite videos to film. I think there's something so nice and just fun about looking ahead to the future. You haven't read anything yet, so nothing can really disappoint you. So I'm going to be discussing my most anticipated releases of 2020 from January to June. I have two books that are my absolute most anticipated of the entire year. Like if I didn't read any other books, but I just read those two, I would be happy. The first one is actually going to be released in the first half, so I'll talk about it in a minute. But the other one has to be The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. We have a title now and a release date that says now, November 22nd, so hopefully we get it in 2020. I just had to mention it because it felt wrong not to say it, even though this is for the first half of the year. I do also have another video coming out somewhat soon discussing and reacting to my most anticipated releases of 2019 and whether or not I actually read them. So go check that out. I have a feeling it's going to be very, very interesting. I also won't really be giving full synopses out because some of these books don't come out for months and months and months. So learning the synopses just for me to forget them later on didn't seem worth it. I'll just say what hooked me and why I want to read it. And yeah. Okay, long intro done, finally, thank God. Let's jump into the video. My first anticipated release of 2020 is Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. This is actually coming out on January 7th, so I don't have that much longer to wait. This is the fifth book of the Wayward Children series, and I just have been loving the series. I caught up this year. I read 3 of the books in the series to catch up this year, and I think that they all are stellar. The lowest rating of any one of the books I had given is a 4 stars. The rest have been like in the 4.5 to 5-star range. I have loved these novellas. Basically, this is a series about portal fantasies and people either existing in worlds that don't want them or being tossed out of worlds that they want to be into, and just dealing with a lot of the trauma that these experiences have. And I think they're just so very well done. I can't wait to get to the story. Love the cover. I also want to say that publishing dates are subject to change. Things happen, authors' lives happen, publishing happens. These aren't concrete. Things could move, but these are as accurate as I have them now in December of 2019. The next book I'm looking forward to also comes out January 7th, and that's Scavenge the Stars by Tara Sim. I have been intending to read this book for a very long time. I heard about it, I think, early this year, and I've been looking forward to it ever since. The cover initially drew me in. It is stunning. This also happens to be a gender-swapped Count of Monte Cristo retelling. I have not read The Count of Monte Cristo, even though that is something I do want to read eventually. Cover is stellar. Premise is great. I love revenge tales. Can't wait to get to this one. The next book I'm a little nervous about, and that's Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli and Ayesha Saeed. This is another co-authored novel from Becky Albertalli, who I have read from and have loved some of her works, but also not loved some of her works. Ayesha Saeed I have not yet read from, but the premise sounds interesting enough. Essentially, this follows 2 main characters. One is a Jewish girl, the other is a Muslim boy, and for whatever reason, they both end up having to get involved with like a local election. It's all focused on the fact of maybe they are meant to be in a relationship together, and or maybe not. We shall see. It is a cross-cultural romance, which I think is very interesting, and I have faith still in Becky Albertalli. The cover is cute. Hopefully I like it. I can't wait to get to Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is coming out on February 20th. This is the sequel to Foundryside, a book I really loved in 2019. Didn't quite get that 5-star rating, but it was a great intro into a world full of really interesting and unique magic, and I just can't wait for the sequel. There's going to be more into a relationship that I'm highly looking forward to. So jazzed to get to this, but I'm also kind of pissed because I screwed myself. I guess I wasn't really thinking when I purchased the paperback of Foundryside, because now of course, the book is only offered in hardback, the new one, but sometimes in Canada we get, especially with fantasy series, you get them immediately in paperback, so I was hoping that was going to happen, but nope. So I don't know what I'm going to do about purchasing it, but I'm definitely reading this in 2020. The next book on here should be no surprise to anyone, and that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I still really enjoy Cassandra Clare's work. I've been reading them for I think 10 years now, which scares me. This was actually supposed to come out in 2019, but due to some health problems, it got pushed back and is now coming out on March 3rd. This is the first book of a new trilogy, especially exciting because this follows the events of the Infernal Devices, one of her most beloved series, I would say. It's not my favorite in the Shadowhunter world, but I do understand the hype and the excitement of seeing some characters that we absolutely love. I just can't wait to see what she does. I don't actually know anything about the plot. I don't really plan to. I'm just excited that the release date is coming closer and closer. Hopefully it's good. Fingers crossed. I'm also really interested in reading The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is coming out on March 26th, and it is N.K. Jemisin's first full-length novel since the Broken Earth trilogy. Obviously, she also wrote the other book, How Long Until Black Future Month. That is, I believe, a series of short stories, speculative short stories, but this is our first full-length book that is an urban fantasy. Obviously, it follows characters and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that New York is like slightly sentient or has a perspective in this book, so I think that just sounds super cool. I obviously need to catch up and finish the Broken Earth trilogy. So apparently I have nothing that I want to read in April, but the next book I'm dying to get my hands on is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I was a little bit nervous with Elizabeth Acevedo's sophomore novel, With the Fire on High, which is actually right there, just because I loved her first book so much. It's honestly one of my favorite books of all time, and I was a little nervous that she wouldn't be able to follow up, but I loved it. I also gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely love it to bits. So I have all the faith in Elizabeth Acevedo to write a fantastic story. I believe this follows 2 half-sisters who actually don't know that the other exists until their father dies, and they sort of have to rectify with the fact that their father was not the person that they expect he was. I believe one of the main characters actually travels to the Dominican to meet her half-sister, and it's all about grief and forgiveness, and Elizabeth Acevedo's writing is unparalleled, so I can't wait to get to this one. The next book I assume is going to be on a lot of people's lists, and it is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is supposed to be coming out on May 19th, and I'm thinking that I'm very excited for this book, but also a little nervous. This is a prequel to the Hunger Games series. It follows Mags, a beloved character that we see in Catching Fire. I'm hoping for the best, but preparing myself that I'm not going to love it. This also suffers from the ugliest cover and the ugliest title ever. They knew that basically everyone was going to buy it, I guess, so they didn't really even try. But yeah, very interested to see what this is like. Okay, so this book I don't know too much about, but that is The Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. This is set to come out on June 23rd. The first thing that really struck me about this book was the cover. When the cover was released, I was basically sold. I think this cover is stunning. But then I found out that this book features some good old death magic, some sentient, malevolent, maybe forests, and I believe that this has a really strong element of friendship in here. One of the comp titles is Uprooted, so I have a lot of high hopes on this book. I believe this is a debut author, and I always love to give some debut authors a try. So I have 2 more books on this list. The first one being 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Cynthia Menon. This is coming out on June 30th. This is one of Cynthia Menon's companion books. It is a companion in the When Dimple Met Rishi universe. I already liked what we saw of the 2 characters briefly, so I'm very much looking forward to this. This might be one of my favorites of her covers, but can't wait to get to it. So the final book of this list is my other most anticipated release of the year. But this book is just as high up there as The Burning God. I recently caught myself up in this series this year. It is a finale, and I'm dying to get my hands on it, and it is none other than Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. I have talked about The City of Brass nonstop on my channel in the past few months. I loved that book, and I absolutely adored the sequel as well, and it leaves off on such like a mind-blowing twist or circumstances, and I just want to know the conclusion. I want my poor little babies to be safe. I'm dying for this book. This also comes out on June 30th, which I think is hilarious because it's literally the last day that this book could be available. I think this book is really going to be fabulous. I have all the faith in S.A. Chakraborty. I can't wait to read this book. Okay, so that is it for my list of my most anticipated releases for the first half of 2020. There are a ton of books that I've heard of that I also am interested in getting to, but these are the books that I damn well should be reading. I'm just excited for 2020 and what 2020 is going to bring. Please let me know down in the comments below any of your most anticipated releases for 2020. I would love to add more to my list, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!